Good evening. Monday night is all about G Sport Live. Welcome to another thrilling episode where we have a jam packed show in store for you. Tonight in studio, I am joined by an award winning sports journalist, Mpumi Manyisi. How are you today?
I'm feeling great. It's nice to be here. It's nice to be also invited by G Sports officially.
Thank you for joining us. We are closing the visibility gap, and our theme is all about sponsorship. How do you think South Africa can better support women in sport?
One thing about sponsorship, Babs, is that it shouldn't always be confined to prize money. You can sponsor a team by buying a kit for them, fixing training facilities, renovating, just giving them the things that they need in terms of making their lives easy as far as the sport is concerned. It doesn't always have to be you showering athletes or clubs with money. We can find a way to sponsor, even with us as fans. We can always buy tickets, go to the games and watch the games. That's also part of sponsorship.
The cool thing about G Sport is we always shine the spotlight on these women to make sure that their stories are told. Every month, we have the top newsmakers that tally up to 10 great women who are doing well in their field. Let's head on over to this video to check out the June 10 Girl Newsmakers. That's a formidable list of talented women. We had the privilege of getting comments from two of those women on being honored on this list. First, we've got Jessica Wade, who has been recently signed on to Emek, Hefer, and Israel Club, where she will be joining the next season, as well as Lwandile Simelane, who has been appointed as the chef de commission of the Team South Africa Commonwealth Games.
Hi everyone, I just wanted to say thank you to gsport for including me on the Newsmakers list. It's always an honour and privilege to be recognised by SA's biggest supporters of women in sport. I'm really grateful for the exposure and appreciate the awareness that is created when you're a part of something like this. The best thing that we can do to support and encourage the growth of women's sport is to have platforms where we can celebrate their achievements. And that's exactly what G Sports has done. So thank you for all your love and support. Keep doing what you're doing.
Hi, I'm Lwandile Simelane, the first Vice President of SASCOC and Chef de Mission for Team South Africa to the Commonwealth Games. What a great honor and a privilege it is for me to be named as a GAL 2022 Newsmaker for the month of June. Good luck to Team South Africa for the Commonwealth Games, and thank you G Sport for continuously driving visibility of women in sport.
We look forward to watching Team South Africa at the Commonwealth Games in 20 days. So Mpumi, tell me, when it comes to sponsorship, like you had mentioned, it is so important to also just fund the facilities, their kits, because so often we hear about women taking hand-me-downs from the guys' team into the women's team. How do you think we need to move forward from that?
First things first, we have to talk about it. One time I was watching a Hollywood Super League game. UJ was playing Thunderbirds. I couldn't interview most of the ladies from Thunderbirds. Let me tell you why. Because they had to rush into the bus so that they can go back to the Eastern Cape, meaning they didn't have a place to stay on the day. So meaning it was an in and out. So if you're a player, now you have to stress about where you're going to sleep. And you also now have to stress about delivering on the field of play. You see, now there's no balance. So that's where we get to call upon corporate SA to say, I mean, that's where you can come in, sponsor them with flight tickets. If you don't sponsor accommodation, those are the things they need more than just giving them cash.
And that's how they are going to be able to perform at their best ability. But for now, we're going to head on over to Cape Town to our content lead, Celine Abrahams, on what's been going on in the G-Sport newsroom.
Thank you so much, Babsie, and good evening to our viewers who have joined our G-Sport live show tonight. It has been an incredible past few days for the G-Sport newsroom team as we have been shining the spotlight on our South African women in sport who are dominating headlines across the globe. One of our standout reports from this weekend was when we highlighted the performances of South African gymnast Caitlin Roos-Krantz, who walked away as the African champion at the 2022 African Artistic Championships in Cairo, Egypt. This is something that hasn't happened in the past 8 years since a South African woman has actually won this crown. And congratulations to Caitlin for her outstanding performances and continuously putting the South African flag high across the continent. Now, as we continue to support our South African women in sport, this week we turn our focus towards sponsorship. Our weekly newsletter will be coming out this Wednesday, so please do sign up by clicking on the link which will be shared in our comment section below, as well as on our @GSportForGirls social media platforms. Let us rally behind our South African women in sport, as well as unearth new icons and role models to pave the way for the next generation. It has been wonderful speaking to you this Monday evening, and look forward to chatting again next week.
I love what Celine said about unearthing new talent. Yesterday in Banyana Banyana's final game, we saw Mpumi Manyisi scoring the only goal that made sure that Banyana Banyana finished their group stage run unfinished. How can you say that this young talent how can you describe her future in the Banyana Banyana team?
We're talking about Mpumi Manyisi, who's doing well at Richmond United. We're talking about Mpumi Manyisi, who is SAFA youngest player of the season, and she can play. She's got the pace, she's got the focus, she wants it. There's a bright future when you look at the Banyana Banyana squad. Those are the ladies that will be carrying Banyana Banyana when Janine van Beek is not there, when Noko Matlo is not there, because obviously the more mature players are going to retire in less than 4 years' time. That's how I see it. But also they've got bigger responsibilities, like Janine van Beek's got a club, JVW, so she needs to focus on JVW, cannot always look into focusing on to Banyana Banyana, and that's where Desiree Ellis and the technical team are trying to groom their youngsters.
Talking about Coach Desiree Ellis, how do you think the injury of Mpumi Kutwana is going to somehow challenge her selection going into the quarterfinal stages?
I don't wish to be in her shoes right now. It's crazy. It's crazy at the camp right now. Mpumi Kutwana has been carrying Banyana Banyana from the qualifiers. Mpumi Kutwana had carried Banyana Banyana when they played the Super Falcons, when they played Burundi, and when they played Botswana yesterday. The game was yesterday, right?
Yes.
Yeah, when they played Botswana yesterday. For me, and I'm not trying to be controversial, she is the fastest Banyana player when it comes to looking how she displays her pace every time she plays, and she's absolutely phenomenal. There's going to be that gap. Remember, we don't have Gabriela Salgado, we don't have Mamelo, we also don't have Andisiwe Mgoyi. So it's going to be very challenging. She can either go with Hilda Magaya or go with Jermaine.
No, we are so excited to see how that pans out, and we are definitely rooting for Banyana Banyana, and they also made one of the leading weekend news. Let's head on over to see who are the other two. comment from Taylor Schmidt, the midfielder of Banyana Banyana, on being recognized as one of the leading newsmakers and qualifying for the quarterfinals.
Hi guys, this is Taylor Smith, Banyana midfielder. We are so excited for making the G-Sport Leading Weekend News after qualifying for the quarterfinals of the Women's African Cup of Nations. Thank you so much for all the support. Please continue supporting us as we continue our quest in the quarterfinals. Thank you.
So, when it comes to sports, we've seen so often, especially in the South African realm, that if you're not part of the bigger group, you get less sponsorship. There are stars like BRIDGITTE Hartley, who's currently at the World Games, and she has to fund herself. What would be your message to corporate South Africa? And she's a 3-time Olympian. What would be your message to corporate South Africa in backing such athletes with the equipment, with the funding of just getting to those tournaments?
I think the bottom line is these athletes are not just representing themselves. They're carrying the South African flag. You know, if they don't participate, it means South Africa is not in action.
Yeah.
If we don't see them, then South Africa is not in action at the Commonwealth.
Yeah.
So the entire country is affected. So if you can help where you can, why not extend a helping hand?
Also, the onus is actually on government, our national government. But I had the privilege of speaking to BRIDGITTE Hartley, who's currently in Alabama, Birmingham, representing South Africa in the long and short distances of canoeing. Let's check out this amazing interview with one of G Sport's biggest friends. G-Sport is all about closing the visibility gap. We always want to shine the spotlight on the sports that don't get enough coverage. In this episode, we focus on canoeing. Today, I am joined by BRIDGITTE Hartley, a 3-time Olympian and one of the cream of the crop of our canoers in South Africa. She is currently at the World Games in Alabama and has joined us today at the G-Sport Big Interview. BRIDGITTE, how are you? Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. It's always a great pleasure to be invited to do an interview for G-Sport, to be able to share what we do in our Cinderella sport codes.
No, definitely. You are that Cinderella. You have a Cinderella story, and you have 16 years in canoeing, doing this with such consistency. How have you managed to stay so fit and, keep on wrecking the accolades in the sport as you keep going?
So I think I just love training. I've always been pretty competitive growing up, and I suppose I haven't really lost it. Every now and then, recently, I have started feeling like, okay, maybe it's time to maybe throw in the towel. But since I've been coaching at Maritzburg College, I've sort of really started enjoying paddling a little bit more, because on the afternoons I might not feel like training. I've got to get on the water, I have to show up, I have to coach the boys, and and then once the session's done, you've got it in the bag.
That is so great. You've mentioned that you are starting to love paddling again and having that passion for canoeing going further. You're currently in Alabama and you are preparing for the World Champs that will be happening between Monday and Tuesday. How has the training been going for that one?
I think my training's been going really well. I've been having some good marathon races this year, which is quite exciting. I sometimes always say it's all about having the best race on the day, and you can't really predict that. This traveling across the world is not easy, and jet lag and feeling tired, but it's affected all of us. So it's hard to say. You obviously want to race to get a medal for your country, but it's not always guaranteed. But for now, I think the focus is just to try and have the best race I can.
And you always deliver when you race. You give your heart out. We just saw you doing a double haul of winning bronze in Czech. And earlier on this year, you walked away with the gold medal at the Western Cape Marathon canoeing. So we can see that the buck just keeps going with you. And we're definitely rooting for you. We're wishing you the best. Now, going into your coaching, how have you found that transition between being an athlete and being a coach?
So for the last few years, I've been coaching already, but more just sending people programs to follow, not very hands-on, except for one or two athletes where I'd spend small little training camps with them. And I think the nice thing is I kind of test out the training sessions as well myself, because then I'll be training with them, or I've been also writing my own programs for the last few years. So with the guideline of some other people. So I think in that sense, it's really been great, because I can see if I've made a really hard session and then almost want to apologize to my athletes. Sorry, that was super tough. But at the same time, we need to do some tough sessions as well.
I think having you as an athlete transitioning into the coaching makes you understand your athletes even more.
Yes, 100%. I think that it is important to understand your athletes and how their training actually responds, or how their bodies respond to the training, because there are some athletes that you really can push more, and then some I've found when you mention the word time trial, all of a sudden they're sick. So you've got to almost change the training, that they don't feel like they're being tested or under pressure all the time. And also depending on the age of them, I think you've still got to have that element of fun, which I found with the schoolboys. So it's about mixing it up a little bit and trying to understand where you can push an athlete so that they don't break, and where there's a fine line and where you need to allow them to recover.
Looking at canoeing as a sport, it could be seen and noticed as a sport that is a smaller sport compared to your rugbies, your crickets, and your F1, for example. So how would you say that the sponsorship going into the sport and seeing how it's now being incorporated in more world games and even locally as well, with more tournaments being incorporated into the calendar of the year?
I think it's amazing that there's definitely lots to race and there's lots to take part in, but the biggest challenge is that, like I think many other Cinderella sport codes, is there's really no money. I've been saying for a few years now, I'm actually doing this as a hobby. I don't know why I'm still doing it, because I'm not getting paid like anyone else to actually be a paddler. I get in my boat because I like it. I travel overseas because I want to. This trip was paid for, which I'm super grateful for, by SASCOC, but any other world championships or not. When I went to Prague earlier this year, it was my own funding or having to ask for sponsorships. So with that sense, it really becomes tough to try and still represent your country proudly when it's very expensive to travel.
You have such a great resume when it comes to your canoeing. So what would you say to potential sponsors out there on the importance of sponsoring canoeing and growing the sport, not only locally, but internationally as well?
Well, I think that it's such a great sport that you can actually do. I would say it's a longevity sport. So any water baby who's not such a good swimmer, there's so many swimmers, could become a paddler. And a water polo player could also, but also it's not so jarring on your joints. So I know that there's people who have run for quite a few years and then all of a sudden their body starts giving up. And obviously if you do paddle too much in the extreme, you might have to have shoulder operations. But I'd like to see it as a sport that can be recreational as well as competitive, which makes it, I think, a really good sport to be able to do.
That is such great advice, and we are rooting for more sponsors to back Canoeing South Africa and to push the sport for it to grow even further. And the fact that you are also giving back while being an athlete in coaching is so amazing. What advice would you give to any aspiring canoeist who wants to take up the sport?
Well, I think if I could give some advice, it's always not to give up. It's very hard to try and become good at anything. It's not a 1 year process. It's not a 2 year process. And like I said, the fun element must be included in it. So often if you're young, you should do it with your friends. And without even realizing you'll become good at it. We have so much water in South Africa, so I think that there's been a lot of development programs, which is really great. I've seen so much talent coming up through the Valley children in KwaZulu-Natal and in the Cape, and it's really encouraging to see some of them, the way they paddle. Like, they haven't really had a coach, or some of them do have a coach, but their technique is amazing already from young. So for me, that's pretty encouraging to see. So I would just say to those athletes, keep going, don't give up.
It's really encouraging for the rest of us to keep on watching you flourish through, and you are literally going against all odds and making sure that you bring your passion to alive, and to make sure that you build such an impeccable resume. Currently, for the G Sport Awards 2022, our theme is the power of recognition. What does the power of recognition mean to you and your sport in terms of moving further, in terms of getting sponsors and growing the sport?
I think the power of recognition is something that we don't realize how important it actually is. As an athlete, you often just do something that you really love. And you don't realize until later on that you have all these aspiring young people wanting to be like you, maybe in a different sport code. So I think that having that recognition is so important for somebody who might have just competed in their first world championships for swimming or athletics, and they read something about Bridgette Hartley and they might think, wow, I also want to go to Olympics one day. So I think that's why it's so important to be able to read what other athletes have done. But in the same breath, I think I get inspired by other athletes as well, even though I've done so much already.
And that's the power of the domino effect and exchange of energy. We keep inspiring each other, and that is why as G Sport, we want to champion the stories of women around us. Looking at the rest of the year, what can we expect from Bridgette Hartley, and what other tournaments will you be participating in this year?
So with the financial challenge, I've had to pull out of the Sprint World Championships in Canada. It's very expensive to go there, so I've decided I'm not going to compete. Otherwise, the next one will be the Marathon World Championships in Portugal at the end of September.
We will be looking forward to watching you do what you do best, and we are calling on all sponsors to back not just this amazing athlete, but such a great sport, to see it growing even further into bigger heights. Thank you so much for joining us, Bridgette, and good luck for tomorrow. We hope to see you bringing back some medalware for us to celebrate when you come back.
Thank you so much.
From canoeing to cricket, we're going to shortly cross over to Kaz Naidu, who's currently in England and covering the first ODI between the Momentum Proteas and England.
Hello everyone, I'm talking to you from Northampton, where England women and South African women are starting off the one-day international series. It's the next leg of the multi-format series that got underway with the one-off test match in Somerset last week. I'm excited for this ODI series. For both teams, it's the start of a new era. Lizelle Lee has retired from the South African team, so that really opens up a spot in the top four. From an England perspective, the retirement of Anya Shrubsole has brought in some really good young guns like Izzy Wong and Lauren Bell. And then, of course, the T20 series will follow after that. A massive couple of months for world cricket, if you look at it. The Commonwealth Games is coming up. You've got the 100, and then, of course, the T20 Women's World Cup coming up early 2023. So exciting to be here, and remember to keep it locked to at G Sport for Girls across social media for the latest from the Momentum Proteas on their UK tour.
The match is currently live. The Proteas put up a competitive score of 218. Currently, the England ladies are chasing down 219. They are 70 for 1. And let's see if our girls can beat that can beat them in this match. Stay tuned on Twitter on our Match Center, where we give you the latest update of this match. Now, coming up this week, you know we always have so many exciting activities during the week. On Wednesday, we have our sponsorship newsletter, the importance of sponsorship. Head on over to our website, sign up for the newsletter, so that you do not get left in the cold and you are able to engage in all the great content we bring to you. On Thursday, it's Twitter Space Thursdays. Let's just catch a clip of last week's Twitter Space.
Lele, tell me, how has your first 2 weeks been, or shall I say the last 2 weeks been of running the campaign?
You know, as you're speaking about swimming, in my head, I'm automatically thinking, swimmer, Penny Haynes, Charlotte Maklake. A lot of things in my head are happening from a PR perspective. So it's such a nice thing, because when you think about Penny Haynes and the swimming that you've just spoken about, it actually brings it back to the first ever G-Sport award winner on the stage in 2006, and speaking to the power of representation. So for me, the power of recognition rather. So for me, I think the last 2 weeks have been quite exciting. It's been a rolling ball. And we've had great traction so far, I think, in terms of having a strategic focus on community and campus radio, very much in line with the ethos of G-Sport Awards, where we look at unearthing icons and role models to inspire the next generation. So I think from that perspective, the last 2 weeks has been great. We've touched audiences across Kakasi FM, Energy FM, Bao FM, so quite a national footprint so far. And that's just naming a few. And the nominations drive keeps going, it's carrying on. And we'll be embarking on a broadcast drive over the next few weeks on everyone's favorite shows. So I think people should really, really look forward to looking at that as well.
And as soon as the nominations close and you have this list of women, all of a sudden you see the name like, oh yes, I know who that one is. Oh yes, I know who that one is. And now you, Miss Superstar, is going to have that lovely task of getting to letting the audience know who these women are, and that is the most exciting part, eh?
Absolutely. That's something that is being at the heart of everything that we're doing right now, and it excites me greatly. So you've literally nailed it on the head to say that we're looking forward to actually taking everyone from a grassroots perspective, from a media perspective, from a TV, radio perspective, and just putting them on a stage, recognizing them, validating them, making sure that we let them know that their hard work is seen and it actually matters.
That is Lele, my boy, the PR of the Momentum G-Sport Awards for 2022. The nominations are still open until the 9th of August. Head on over to our website, sign up for a profile, and make sure that your faves are not left behind. These are the most well-contested women's sport awards. We are so excited for them. Now, going back to Banyana Banyana. They are going up against Tunisia on Thursday. What are your predictions?
Pops, listen, I'm very bad at predictions, but all I can say is it's going to be a game that's going to test Banyana Banyana. I want to see Elinda Mtlalo, Janine van Wyk. I want to see a Refilo Jane anchoring in the middle, taking a leadership role, seeing that Thembi Kgatlana won't be there. Even up front, Hilda Makaya, please,
you
come
want
with
experience.
the goals. I do want experience, considering the fact that our very fast-paced striker will be out of the tournament, not only for the quarterfinals, but throughout the tournament. So we need to step up.
And we're taking it one game at a time until we get to that final, right?
100%. And we have to win, guys.
We are confident in our girls. We are rooting for them to bring it home. We have reached the end of what has been such a great show. Don't forget to sign up for our Wednesday newsletter, our favorite day of the week, and make sure that you stay tuned to all our social media platforms. We are at G-Sport for Girls across Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Thank you for joining us. Until next time.